I am Dr. Nteri Nelson, a KeMetaphysicist, licensed clinician and educator, and co-founder of the Academy of Kemetic Education and Wellness. So welcome to this Building a Lighted Temple Wisdom Service. Each Sunday, we come into this space, this virtual space, this ethereal waters, this etheric space that we have been cultivating each and every week, that we may amplify our vibration and distribute the light. Today's lecture is entitled E equals MC squared and KaAbBa, MerKaBa, Spirit, Consciousness, and Matter, and asks as a KeMetaphysicist, can we talk to the physicists? As a KeMetaphysicist to a physicist, today's lecture gives detailed examination of Dr. Albert Einstein's well-known famous equation, E equals MC squared, and demonstrates its correspondence with and as the equation KaAbBa, MerKaBa, and asks, can we talk? This less well-known equation is derived from research which is based upon African origin ancient Kemetic Egyptian research contributions, as recorded in my books, and this is just two of them, but I'm holding up KaAbBa, Building a Lighted Temple with the Metaphysical Keys to the Tree of Life, and my book, MerKaBa, The Great Pyramid is the Tree of Life, KaAbBa, Remaking Ourselves as Beings of Light. So you're going to see glimpses from lectures I've been doing and this research for 3 decades, nearly 3 decades. So fasten your seatbelts and engage with me as I examine the research of physicists and systematically compare and contrast these with African origins of ancient Kemetic Egyptian research contributions. So beloveds, we begin with, how do we approach the subject today? E equals MC squared and KaAbBa, MerKaBa, Spirit, Consciousness, Matter, Continuum. And ask, can we talk? Where are we going today? Well, where we are going is snapshotted in these next clips that I will show. And then we will go deeper into the subject matter. The first short video clip is Dr. Albert Einstein and follows.
It followed from the special theory of relativity that mass and energy are but different manifestations of the same thing.
Okay, beloveds. And now we're going to see a short clip on this same subject as from a Kemetic point of view and the equation KaAbBa, MerKaBa. And we know from this famous equation E equals MC squared that energy equals mass times the speed of light. It otherwise said is our very own measure of the spirit matter continuum, how one equals the other, how ultimately we are moving within the spirit matter continuum. Okay. I'm just making sure you can hear me. All right. So as we get deeper into this subject, let's look at why talk, or ask, can we talk? A metaphysicist to a metaphysicist. And let's look at what is a metaphysicist or KeMetaphysicist based in the study and research of Kemet, which I am a KeMetaphysicist and a physicist. And we begin with understanding that a physicist is a scientist who specializes in the field of physics, which encompasses the interactions of matter and energy at all lengths and time scales in the physical universe. Physicists generally are interested in the root or ultimate causes of phenomena and usually frame their understanding in mathematical terms. And as a KeMetaphysicist, the work of a KeMetaphysicist encompasses the work of a physicist. As a metaphysicist, I will be framing and understanding in terms scientific, science of being and becoming, spiritual, existential, and psychological, esoteric, and the deep thought and Kemetic philosophy of our African ancestors. This too will at times encompass the mathematical. In continuing these definitions, a physicist works across a wide range of research fields, spanning all length scales, from subatomic and particle physics through biological physics to cosmological length scales encompassing the universe as a whole. As a metaphysicist or KeMetaphysicist, I, over time in these series, in this Building the Lighted Temple Wisdom series, will do the same. So, continuing in our approach to this subject today, E equals MC squared, and KaAbBa, MerKaBa, Spirit Consciousness Matter. We'll turn now to a video clip by Albert Einstein and have commentary after that video clip. This video clip is as follows. I want to say good morning, everyone. Hotep. Hotep, people are arriving. Good to see everyone. Hi. Great to see everyone. All right, here is the video clip by Albert Einstein, Dr. Albert Einstein.
From the special theory of relativity that mass and energy are both but different manifestations of the same thing. A somewhat unfamiliar conception for the average mind. Furthermore, the equation E is equal mc squared, in which energy is thought equal to mass multiplied with the square of the velocity of light, showed that very small amount of mass may be converted into a very large amount of energy, and vice versa. The mass and energy were in fact equivalent, according to the formula mentioned above. This was demonstrated by Cochran and Walton in 1932 experimentally.
Okay, beloveds, and just for the sake of clarity, we want to see his words. And so we're going to go to this PowerPoint slide and look phrase by phrase of what he just spoke in case you missed any of it. And we will go over this in the end of this lecture today and look at my contribution to these words. So according to Dr. Albert Einstein, he says, it followed from the special theory of relativity that mass and energy are both but different manifestations of the same thing, and a somewhat unfamiliar conception for the average person. Furthermore, the equation E is equal to mc squared, in which energy is put equal to mass, multiplied with the square of the velocity of light. Show that a very small amount of mass may be converted into a very large amount of energy and vice versa, that mass and energy were in fact equivalent according to the formula mentioned before, demonstrated by Cockcroft and Walton in 1932 experimentally. So now, beloveds, what we want to do is go to the video that I'm going to show you that I have made over these 3 decades. There's been contributions to the video clip that I'm going to show you, which looks at the correspondence between E equals mc squared and KaAbBa, MerKaBa. Here we go.
In order to move from the unmanifest to the manifest, we must understand the Kemetic law of vibration. Our African ancestors gave us these key terms of KaAbBa and Ba, this mechunetur, which are keys to unlocking this creative process. Our African ancestors teach us that Ka is spirit. And just like the icons on your computer, if you click onto any one of these terms, Ka, Ab, and Ba, whole documents open up about the unfolding process of manifestation. So our African ancestors teach us that Ka is spirit, that all is spirit, and that Ka takes of the substance of itself to see itself in form. So if we begin with Ka as spirit, in understanding the law of vibration, we understand that Ka is spirit, and Ka is spirit, is matter at its lowest level of vibration, and that matter is spirit at its highest level of vibration. That all is spirit. Spirit, in taking of the substance of itself, can vibrate at its lower level as matter, and matter, in vibrating on a higher internal spiral, is spirit at a higher vibration. So our African ancestors teach that Ka, in this diagram here, the same slide, we have Ka in its double aspect as spirit, and Ka taking of the substance of itself to see itself in form, like you sitting in your chair there in the audience. And so there's this physicalizing aspect of Ka, where it takes of the substance of itself to see itself in form.
And that Ka is represented by these upstretched arms that I'm pointing out here. And Ka is also called the double because there is the doubling aspect of Ka. So Ka, spirit, represented by these upstretched arms, takes of the substance of itself. So we come today in this creative process to be with the movement. And here we have additional language for understanding that movement. Ka, spirit, all is spirit, all is noon. Ka, spirit, takes of the substance of itself. To what? To see itself in form, which is represented by these upstretched arms. This is the movement within creation. So this is this Ka, spirit, takes of the substance of itself to see itself in form. This is the physicalizing aspect of Ka. And why is that? Because if all is spirit and spirit can only take from the substance of itself, it doesn't go to Home Depot. Well, how does it come into thingness, somethingness? And we're in this vibrating where we will see Ka in its more spiritual aspect, or we'll see Ka in its more material aspect, more dense, coarse, or more on a high vibration, more refined. And all right, so Ka, spirit, takes up the substance of itself to see itself in form. But that's not all the universal Ba is wanting to do.
Moreover, Ka, as spirit, takes of the substance of itself to have consciousness in form. So we see that here as the Ab or the Ib, which we've already been talking a bit about. This Ka as spirit taking of the substance of itself to see itself in form has its correspondence with Auset, the matter or physicalizing aspect of the Divine Trinity. And Ka as spirit taking of the substance of itself to have consciousness in form is the Haru aspect of ourselves. This corresponds also with the Hat, as the Ka corresponds with the creative center. I'll show you a diagram a little bit later. Now, we have talked about how the Ab is the seat of conscience and growing soul consciousness. And as that consciousness grows, as we become more conscious, that Ab becomes Ba, which our African ancestors understood as the soul. Later, Christianity would take a part of this and describe this as my Father and I are one, or my Father and I becoming one. But instead, Kemetically understood, as we trace back to its primal meaning and source, we want to understand that it is as Ab becomes Ba, we have Haru becoming as Auset and Osir. As Ab becomes the fullness of Ba in its consciousness, we have the uniting of Ka and Ba, of spirit and matter, of mother and father within us. So here we have the Divine Trinity, and as I've indicated, the KaAbBa corresponds with the Divine Trinity of Auset, Haru, and Osir. And in this diagram, we see this Trinity laid out in the Tree of Life in these three aspects of divinity, where we see in this Ka triangle, we see Auset Mother, Spirit Matter, and we see in the Ab triangle, Haru, which is Son Daughter, and we see Osir Ba, Father, in the Ba triangle. So we see this Divine Trinity, which is our temple, laid out linearly here. So what is the Genesis story, the story of creation? Because we're talking about seeking the secrets of conscience and consciousness, seeking the secrets and the science of consciousness. Well, our African ancestors were, as I said, masters in this science. And they weren't waiting for the big bang of science in this creation story. They had their own understanding of that creation story. Let's look at a local level of consciousness and creation. What is happening on a local level? And let us turn now in this slide to Ba, man, God in form, man and woman in form, and Ba, God, or nature, that is planet, Earth in form. And this brings us to our apparatus, which is KaAbBa, the Great Pyramid, is the tree of life, MerKaBa. So we begin to look at our MerKaBa body of light, and which is the apparatus of consciousness. And how are we registering these states of consciousness? In order to register these states of consciousness, we must look at the apparatus, the equipment, the temple, the monument building. Our African ancestors were masters in building these monuments so that we could reflect the divine. And this is the monument that we are building. We are building in KaAbBa, MerKaBa, we are building this lighted temple. Now, we are all equal in essence. We are all Ka. Ka is spirit. But we are not all equal in consciousness. Meaning, we, like a radio, we have access to radio waves. If radio waves are like consciousness, we have access to it. However, we are not all the same in our apparatus of radio, which some radios may have their dials turned this way, some radios may have their antennas turned that way. So we are equal in essence, but we are working on our equipment. And the apparatus that a human uses for its vehicle of consciousness is not the same apparatus as the tree is using. It's not the same apparatus as the planet Earth is using. It's not the same apparatus that the sun is using. So we want to look at the apparatus in building the lighted temple. In this next slide, KaAbBa, building the lighted temple, we begin by looking at our spiritual equipment, which is both human and divine. And this brings us into keys to understanding KaAbBa. The tree of life is the Great Pyramid, MerKaBa. And we are understanding the triplicity that is the template of our own monument building, which is ourself, which is coinciding with the divine trinity within of Osir, Oset, and Haru. In the Mechunecher, in the Pertemru, they teach us the naming of these soul bodies, which are called the Kab, the KaKabit, the Sahu, the Ab, the Shechem, the Ku, and the Ba. So our African ancestors teach us how to indwell on all of these soul levels. So let's continue now that we've talked about the character building. When we're building character, you might equate this to your computer. When you're building the physical, the emotional, and the mental soul bodies, you are really fashioning the computer. But what is the software? And that's why we move into the Ab and the Ba triangle to understand how to unlock the secrets and the science of consciousness within us. If we do not unlock the secrets of the science and the consciousness within us and come to indwell these higher soul bodies within us, then we can be in a position where, as the masses, where others are utilizing our apparatus, our physical, emotional, and mental body, and we're running off of somebody else's software or soul program, coming into the unfoldment of our spiritual equipment and apparatus leads us and renders our capacity to operate on our own soul program. So let's now move to the Ab triangle. And in this slide, as we've already been talking about, the Ab triangle is the seat of conscience and growing soul consciousness. It is where we are relating spirit and matter, father and mother. We're harmonizing and trying to bring into accord these discordant energies of life and living. It is where we are making a choice to bring to either work on our own personal will or to come into alignment with divine will and purpose and plan for our lives. How to see more into the divine archetype of the universe and bring that divine architectural design into being. How do we glimpse within that divine architectural design and then build a world in accord with that, and build our temple in accord with that, and build our lives and our community in accord with that. Even the young people have said about this world that there's, you know, something whack about this world, and how do we build in alignment, in accord with the divine archetypal design? Well, we have to have the equipment that can at least glimpse into what that divine archetypal design might be. So, like looking at the box cover of a multitudinous piece puzzle, there is a way to glimpse the box cover and then set ourselves in motion to build in accord with that. But if we have just dumped all the pieces out and we're trying to put things back together, but we don't make any reference to a divine archetypal plan and purpose and intent, then we are without spiritual guidance. We are without that inner guidance that can see and can know. And so that now brings us into the development of the first eye. This development speaks to the completing of our circuitry as KaAbBa. If we look at this next slide, we see pictured here the linear tree of life, and then we see pictured the bending back as we form the MerKaBa body of light, vehicle light, like the nude pose, the bending back of the tree of life upon itself, like in the nude posture, or like the Sankofa symbol of bending back. And we see also the double Merkut, or pyramid, great pyramids, one above and one below, which form the MerKaBa body of light. So it is in this development of the first eye that we are completing our circuitry and developing this spherical consciousness. And that is replicated in the very monument of ourselves as we move from a linear consciousness into this spherical consciousness, this spherical sightedness, like in the newt posture, like in the Sankofa symbol, the pyramid above and the pyramid below. In the KaAbBa, the Great Pyramid, is the Tree of Life MerKaBa symbol. Our study in entering into this Kemetic science brings us into the understanding of the KaAbBa, or MerKaBa, which is our luminous energy body of light. What is this luminous energy body of light? This luminous energy body of light is our vehicle of first eye spherical consciousness. It's our vehicle of rebirth. It's our vehicle of transformation, of resurrection, of ascension, transport, empowerment, enlightenment, initiation, and service. So in our study of consciousness, we come in rapport with understanding what is this vehicle that is us. And this vehicle that is us, that is bringing us into this dimensional shift in consciousness, is to learn the mechanics and the science of indwelling the KaAbBa, MerKaBa, luminous energy body of light.
All right, beloveds. Maybe once again, quite a bit to take in, this uniting of understanding spirit and matter, that continuum, understanding the journey of unfolding spherical consciousness that is taking place, and becoming more luminous, more lighted in the form that we indwell. So let's look finally at line by line with Dr. Albert Einstein. Response of a KeMetaphysicist to a physicist in what he had proposed. And we asked, can we talk? So Dr. Albert Einstein stated, it followed from the special theory of relativity, and I, as a KeMetaphysicist, state spherical consciousness, this theory of relativity. Dr. Albert Einstein stated that mass and energy are both but different manifestations of the same thing. And I, as a KeMetaphysicist, state spirit is matter at its lowest level of vibration, and matter is spirit at its highest level of vibration. Dr. Albert Einstein states a somewhat unfamiliar conception for the average mind. Well, what do you think about that, beloveds? Dr. Nteri responds, my response is, one has to move from linear consciousness and linear equation to spherical consciousness, an expression of the conceptualization of the theory of relativity. I have said many times in our metaphysical studies, beloveds, that nothing is over our heads. We can see and know and grasp a somewhat unfamiliar conception for the average mind. Remember the minds, the fine minds, the deep thought of our African ancestors who codified that knowledge in its pinnacle expression in Nile Valley civilization. Dr. Albert Einstein states, furthermore, the equation E is equal to mc squared. I state KaAbBa, MerKaBa. Dr. Albert Einstein states, in which energy is put equal to mass. And I state, spirit, Ka, takes of the substance of itself to see itself in form or matter. Dr. Einstein states, multiplied with the square of the velocity of light. And I state, the distance there and back in the spirit matter continuum. Dr. Einstein states, showed that a very small amount of mass may be converted into a very large amount of energy, and vice versa, that mass and energy were in fact equivalent according to the formula mentioned before. I, as a KeMetaphysicist, state spirit is matter at its lowest level of vibration, and matter is spirit at its highest level of vibration. The journey of unfolding spherical consciousness, sightings along the way. It's not just this linear go out. It's all that is encompassed in the sightings in consciousness along the way. And he says, demonstrated by Cockgrove and Walton in 1932. And folks are saying Grand Rising. Yes, Rosalind says, I love that, Dr. Nteri, we can think and act spherically. Our African ancestors were great adepts, and we can regain, yes, we can regain our understanding, yes, it gets cut off after so many letters, yes. All right. So I'm glad that everyone was able to come today, and we are going to come to our closure for today as we hold and embrace the implication and the magnitude of these equations, these formula, and the correspondence between. Our Kemetic formula or equation is the equation of uniting the spirit and matter within us, the bending back and the bending of the light within us, because it is the jet pillar, the fire within, the light within. It is in the bending back that we knit ourselves together, that we are uniting Auster and Auset, father and mother, spirit and matter, Ka and Ba within us. And it is in this knitting back together, this fusion process that's happening within us. Weeks ago, I did a lecture on the process of fusion versus fission. And, the fissioning is the splitting apart, but which leaves harmful radioactive waste. But we want to operate more as the sun is operating in the process of fusion, the fusion that's taking place within our own equipment as we unite spirit and matter within us, these seemingly opposite poles within us. We are doing the work of uniting spirit and matter within. And so we will continue in these studies and this work, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of you tell others. I think we had few technical things today. Tim has a comment. He said, you said it's so simple and plain. Amun Ra, Aman is the mass, Ra is the light energy. Yes, Tim. Yes, we move into the Aman, which is the fount of all possibilities, the moon, the waters of space. And out of that blackness, uppercase, blackness, darkness, is the arising of the first manifestation of creation, which is light, the light of Ra, the light of the universal Ra, the universal sun. And so we are in the tradition of our African ancestors, patterning our lives after the sun, as they pattern their lives after the sun, that we are becoming more conscious, that we are becoming more luminous and more light-filled. And on that note, beloveds, I look forward to seeing you next time. Om Uja Sineb.